Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carrie Craddock. I'm the Director of Programming for the festival, and welcome to this afternoon's world premiere screening of Tell It to the Bees. Woo! To begin, we would like to acknowledge that this afternoon's event is taking place on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of New Credit and the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work in the community. This film is eligible for our Girls People's Choice Award. You can vote for all of your favorite films at tiff.net/vote. A huge thank you to Film Constellation for providing us with this film today, and also to the British Council for their very generous support. A round of applause for them. They're great partners. Thank you. I had the opportunity to see this film in London a few months ago, and I was so touched by all of the love which comes in so many forms in this film. And you feel this, of course, in the storytelling, but also in Annabelle's direction and the very moving performances by Anna Paquin and Holliday Grainger. We are very fortunate to have all of them here for an introduction and a Q&A after the screening today, so please do stick around. But right now, join me in welcoming the director of Tell It to the Bees, Annabelle Jankel.
Thank you so much. Hello, Toronto. I've always wanted to do that. Got that out of the way. Well, when I started out on this journey to make Tell It to the Bees, I never imagined for a million years that we would end up at the end of this journey in this unbelievably gorgeous, perfect, magical setting. So thank you so much to the Toronto International Film Festival for welcoming us and inviting us to screen our premiere here. We're all so incredibly thrilled. Also would like to acknowledge the wonderful rally yesterday and all the women. The amazing speakers, every single one of them, I was re-inspired, galvanized, and I take my hat off to every woman that has got behind it, but especially to TIFF, who's given us with this festival, this huge platform to celebrate women's filmmaking and stories. So thank you to TIFF for that too. So happy to be able to introduce my incredible producers, Daisy Alsop and Nick Hill, who shepherded this production through thick and thin and all the stuff and business that goes on behind the scenes. So thank you to Daisy and Nick. I'd also like to bring out and thank Nick Bauer and Laura Vase. Producers. Henrietta and Jessica Ashworth, brilliant screenwriters. Fiona Shaw, whose novel was the inspiration for this film. Bartosz Nalezek, the cinematographer, but actually I'm going to say it in a Polish accent. Bartosz Nalezek. And lastly, my two incredible leading ladies, unbelievably creative, talented, Anna Paquin and Holliday Grainger.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leanne Kinji, and I'm proud to bring back the director of Tell It to the Bees, Annabelle Jenko. And of course, with us for the Q&A, we have Anna Paquin and Holliday Grainger. Thank you so much. Thank you all very much for joining us in Toronto and for bringing your film here to us to share with our audiences. I think they liked it. So my first question is, did you know about the novel that this story is based on, so Tell It to the Bees by Fiona Shaw, or did it come to you as the script first?
I read the book. It was given to me, and I absolutely fell in love with it as pretty much from the first sentence. I was captivated and didn't put it down for a whole weekend. I'm a slow reader. And I just loved it, and as soon as I was in it, I was actually inside the film. So it was it was kind of just an obvious next step that I had to try and take it to the next stage.
Absolutely. And I mean, your background comes from animation, and you were a pioneer in video effects and such with Max Headroom, and the bees in this film are absolutely stunning. They're just something so incredible, not that we've seen in a very long time. So can you talk a little bit about the VFX bees and the real bees?
Well, I think everybody probably have figured out that it's a combination of real bees and a few pretend bees. But yeah, I mean, every beehive has about 50,000 of them in there. So,
but bees don't like the rain, and Scotland does rain really, really well.
you know, that's a really good point.
No. It's a beautiful, beautiful country, but it rains all summer, and bees actually are not down with that. They don't come out. So there were quite a few sequences that were supposed to be with live bees that we were all prepared for, that our bee co-stars were unwilling to come out of their trailers, so to speak. But everything that you see with me and Gregor, the wonderful young actor that plays Charlie, all of that was real bees. He and I went to beekeeper school, so that was real.
That was real.
Yeah.
And of course, most people probably realize that bees do not fly at night. They need the sun. And
I mean, they don't even like a harsh breeze. They're actually, in my 20-something years of doing this, literally my most high-maintenance co-stars I have ever worked with. No, it's great. It's great. We've all been upstaged by bees. But it's true, when they all die, we're over, so we should be more appreciative.
Well, bees aside, your performances were absolutely stunning. You really brought these characters to life. Jean and Lydia just were absolutely, their relationship was incredible. So how did you kind of build these characters together with Annabelle?
We just talked a lot. I mean, we rehearsed for 2 weeks, which is just kind of talking, and talking about them and relationships and the script and the time and what was different then, what would be now, and how they kind of how they came from different backgrounds and how just their journey as their relationship kind of as two outsiders coming together and helping each other form their own path in the world and giving each other kind of the confidence to be who they want to be was sort of what we talked a lot about.
We also, because there's a few dance sequences in the film, and Lydia's actually allowed to be a good dancer / had to be a good dancer, and I'm allowed to look as awkward as, if you'll excuse the expression, tits on a turtle. We had this extraordinary choreographer that came in and worked with us all, and who got us to do some sort of these like various sort of kind of mirroring sort of exercises of sort of like feeding off of each other's body movements and body language and energy, and it was kind of felt a bit silly at first, and then was sort of unbelievably helpful, I think, as far as just sort of kind of getting to know each other.
Yeah, it was kind of amazing that when just after a morning sort of mirroring each other, how we all of a sudden felt like we intrinsically knew each other in some kind of way.
It's like I get you now.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, most of how, acting works is by kind of getting to know the person that you're working with and feeling a level of trust and safety, and then you can do strange things, if need be.
Wonderful. Okay, so right now I'm going to open up the questioning to the audience. Okay, we have one right down the front. Sorry.
So I just began my third year in film studies at Queen's, and I was wondering, as a female director, do you have any advice for other young female directors who'd like to, get into the film industry?
Okay, so the question is for Annabelle, and it's an aspiring young filmmaker who will want to know about any advice for young female filmmakers. Would you like to?
Well, I'm so glad to hear that you're at film school. That's fantastic. My advice is something that I think would have helped me a lot, that I never actually did have. But I've watched and realized that this is something that's hugely important, is to build your peer group and build your small little community around you so that you're all helping each other, which is, of course, what starts at film school anyway. And to know that actually you're going to get knocked down a lot, and to be able to just have the resilience and the tenacity to just keep on going, because I think it's the long haul. You have to realize it's a long game, and you're going to get knocked about a bit, but you just have to keep on going.
I think that's some great advice. Okay, we have a woman over here. The question is if there's a distributor.
I think that probably should be answered by our producers that are out and sales.
find that
So
later,
I
but-
think that's probably something I can't actually give too accurate an answer on.
They're just very eager for other people to see this film, definitely.
This is part of the process.
Yeah. Okay, another question, please. Yep, just in the middle here. Yep, yeah, you, sorry.
I was just wondering about the process of fundraising, getting it to the screen. How did you read the novel and talk about that?
I think all films go through development hell. I think it's just all part of the process. And actually, I don't know statistically how long an average film takes, or rather a film takes an average length. I think it's about 7 years.
And an internal organ that you have to donate to somebody. Maybe that's his name.
But it was the normal long-winded process, which is endless script development, and then our writers came on board, Henrietta and Jessica Ashworth, and we really rolled up our sleeves and got to work on that, and it produced an amazing script, and then it started to get into refinements, and then I've always thought of it in terms of there's 3 very specific segments. There's the development, there's the shooting, and then there's the editing, and each one, in a way, has its own development hell. So I would say it was about 8 years, I think, from beginning to end.
And how long have you two been involved in the project then?
Shortly before filming started. So we were spared most of the development portion.
They already had financing and everything by the time we came on board, I think.
No, we're just the hired help.
Any more questions? Can I ask? Oh, I've got one. Oh. Okay, we'll go with yeah. So the question is, were you happy that neither of your characters had to die or commit suicide in the end for your love?
I mean, obviously, yes. But also, I think, more importantly, as far as, representation and pride on screen and these sorts of stories being told, I think what was important for me was that felt like a realistic end to that love story. That, it was the thing of if you love someone, set them free, and that they set each other free, even though at that time it just wasn't realistic. And that to me was very important.
Yeah, I think the ending just shows such brightness and hope, and how the relationship between these 2 women has really developed them as people, and they've come out of it better in themselves for it. And there's such a, even though we think they might not meet again potentially, that it's with like such they're going to carry each other in their hearts forever, and I think there's such a positivity in that.
Yeah, I think that's what really resonates with the audience here. Next question, please. Yep.
What was harder, shooting in Scotland or perfecting the accent?
What was harder, shooting in Scotland or perfecting the accent?
That is her accent.
Yeah, it's kind of like mine. My nan.
That is a very long answer for a question that I don't think you meant to unpick a sort of beehive, haha. Jean is supposed to have been from that region, however, has lived and been educated elsewhere. So we had a lot of discussions about exactly where it should sound like she's from, because you will, if you have a good ear, notice there's an enormous array of Scottish accents that are regionally specific. So that was a very long discussion over about the course of a month about what exact accent we wanted. And then this amazing woman in Scotland named Jennifer was my accent coach, and she and I basically just lived in each other's pockets for 3 months. And she drilled me to death on exactly the sound that we had all decided on. Which is regionally possibly not totally specific, but is plot-wise makes sense and hopefully doesn't sound stupid. So that's basically what I was going for, is not sounding like an idiot.
Annabelle had wanted me to do a Newcastle accent to begin with, and I just pussied out because I thought that you can't take me to Glasgow and ask me to learn a Newcastle accent. So I just decided to just mix my mum and my nan together and make it sort of, 1950s Manchester-esque.
Okay, last question. Oh, sorry, who pointed?
There's one right there.
Yep. Yes. Yeah.
They're awful.
The question was, how do you go about filming scenes that are just so intense and heart-wrenching. What was it like on set?
Well, I think it's just about trying to put yourself in the emotion of the character. Most of the time, you're attached to a script or you're involved in a job because you have found it emotional and because you engage with the story and you engage with the character, and so it's usually by the time you get to set, you're feeling that emotion, and so it's kind of a release once you get a chance to do it.
But often quite unpleasant to shoot. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, there's certain scenes that, yeah, of course you're acting. Obviously, nothing really horrible is happening to anybody. We're very privileged humans. We get to be actors. But there's some stuff that when you're shooting it, just the physicality of it is pretty grim. Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily just kind of shake off the second that they call cut and you go home. Yeah. So, good question.
So yeah, just the atmosphere on set must have been incredible, though, between you shooting with bees and then having to deal with all these.
Also, child working hours.
Yes,
because
exactly.
Grainger Selkirk, who is, I think everyone can agree, extraordinary in this film, who plays young Charlie. Thankfully, since she and I were children, they actually now have child labor laws and hours that you're allowed to work and what you can and can't do to small children on sets. Amen. But between bees and child hours and just the logistics of independent filmmaking, it doesn't leave a lot of minutes for there to be anything else going wrong. So it's a pretty intense process, right?
Yeah, I think we did half an hour of overtime in the entire film.
Which, by the way, is amazing, and I'm going to take a high five on that one from you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, well, that's all the time we have here today, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if you like the film, don't forget to vote for it for the Girls People's Choice Award.